But there is another aspect to it, which I could say is sort of like an indirect. It's not financially economic in the literal sense of money being moved around, but it has,
Mhm.
for instance, the supply chains collapsing that we sort of already discussed, no matter how short. But also, we are now realizing the transaction cost of human contact. The very reason why we are doing this online, and the very reason
Yeah.
why universities like Columbia or all businesses have moved to an online way of instruction, is
Yeah.
because we've suddenly found that there is increased cost to human contact right now. And this is
Uh-huh.
a fragility that is being exposed in the system. The way I see it, this is latent fragility that has now come up to the forefront.
Okay.
Right? What do you think about the markets moving in the future with respect to this? Do you think that there is going to be a legacy aspect of this virus where we are like, okay, you know what, we need to sort of tone down on how reliant we are on human contact?
Yeah. So I think, we've had this thrown in at the deep end sort of immersion in, teaching from home.
Right.
And, we've all uh, learned how to do it fairly quickly. Now, I don't know how many people will say, well, this is the way I want to do it in the
Mhm.
future. I think it's going to prove that people can work from home and be reasonably efficient. I don't think you're ever as efficient as if you're in front of people and others around you are watching, and um, uh, you know, I've taken a long time for myself to learn how to work from home. I'm terribly distractible, so I'll go read a book or
Right.
make
Right.
a cup of coffee, or, which you can't do when you're immersed in a situation in your own office space and you're not interacting the same way. But I think we will learn, is this possible? Can we keep the university running?
Right.
This $6 billion a year enterprise
Right.
with God knows how many students and faculty, can you keep it running
Right.
without turning up on Morningside Heights?
Right.
So it's a social experiment that I'm sure is going to be successful at some level. Classes will still be taught in a very different way.
Right.
I'm not sure how exams are going to be held,
Right.
and people whose classes include group discussions of case studies
Mhm.
are struggling.
Right.
That's a hard thing to do.
Right.
So there's, if you're just the sage on the stage and you're teaching mathematics, probably it's just fine.
Mhm.
But in a class that involves a lot of discussion,
Mhm.
probably it's not so fine. And so the quality of education is not going to be the same.
Right. You are right. Yes.
I mean, okay, so, life is life.
Mhm.
We didn't encourage this. It
Mhm.
wasn't stupidity.
Mhm.
It wasn't lack of preparation. It just happened.
It's a black swan. There is nothing we could have done to
Yeah, it
predict.
just came out of the sky,
Right.
and we'll do our best.
Right. And I think you were spot on with this idea that there is no doubt in my head, as a student who's currently enrolled at one of the classiest universities in the world, that there is a significant loss to the educational experience, and not just an
Yes.
intangible loss, but a very tangible loss. Two of my classes, and two of my best classes in my entire Columbia career, are oriented around 12 people meeting in a room and then hashing out an idea over and over till we have something solid. And I know those professors, because I've been in touch with them, they're struggling to figure out how they're going to do it over Zoom. So there is a loss of utility, undoubtedly. And in places, like you said, the mathematics class, a lecture room with 400 people or 200 people or 100 people, in any case, the interaction's one-sided, so probably Zoom might suffice. So with a significant cost that universities might be able to take on the front of utility, they have been forced to run an experiment to realize that some part of it is possible and some part of it is not. And
Yeah.
I wonder, because the costs are so significantly lesser if something was to run like this, right? Because there isn't an infrastructure cost, there isn't as much a maintenance cost and such, that this might become, if not the main way of running things, but like an alternative. Like Columbia might figure out, oh wow, you know what, an e-university is possible for people who cannot attend it in Morningside Heights, and so might Harvard. Do you think
Right.
that is a possibility, that there might be some sort of an extension as a legacy?
I think with Lee Bollinger as president, the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
He, being a Columbia graduate himself, he thinks that being at Columbia, physically in the place, is hugely important. He thinks that community, the being at Columbia, the discourse is immensely important. And I don't think, if Bollinger's still around, and which apparently it will be, and he will be until 22, he's going to try to get us back to the university community we had.
Right.
And not say, oh boy, this was a great idea, let's all teach from home.
Right.
I mean, he still teaches
Right.
in law, and he's a sage on the stage teacher.
Right.
He's up there lecturing.
Right. Right.
So, you're not a university anymore.
Right.
In his view, for sure. You're an operation of some sort, an educational institution, but you're not a university. You're not going to the library. You're not,
exchanging ideas as capital. That's what I truly think. Exchanging ideas as capital. That's what happens to the student pop. There is something to be said about the environment, right? Like the very fact that I'm placed in a situation, in a circumstance, in an environment where ideas are capital. I think that has a profound effect on the student body, that a decentralized mode of education will probably not.
No, I tell this story to people from time to time, but my office in SEPA is on the 14th floor. So a year or so ago, I got in on the 14th floor, one floor down, 13, Joe Stiglitz comes in, Nobel Prize winner in economics. The elevator goes 2 floors down. Phelps gets in, another Nobel Prize winner, and all in it also in economics. And students all pile in and, don't pay any attention. And Joe says, hello, Ned, and Ned says, hello, Joe. And, we get down to the 4th floor and they all get out. And I said to the students, do you realize you just rode the elevator with 2 Nobel Prize winners? And none of them did.
Right.
None of them actually realized.
Right.
But the response was, oh, wow, where else could I be?
Right.
To have that happen.